However, Mr. Chair, I lament that the Filipino people who are viewing us right now may not be understanding the significance of this inquiry. So, while I do submit that this is a very technical matter, I hope everybody will exert the necessary effort to laymanize in the same way that Yusek Garin did during her presentation. So before I proceed to my interpellation, Mr. Chair, I wish to request Yusek Garin to please enlighten the public. Ano po ba ang kahalagahan ng National Grid Corporation of the Philippines sa pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente dito sa ating bansa, Mr. Chair? Is it correct to say, for the viewing Filipino people, pag mataas ang cost ng transmission, mataas din ang presyo ng kuryente. And that is the reason why we need to regulate the operation of the Ngcp, which is responsible for the national grid. While I do acknowledge that the remaining 40% of the stock holdings may be foreign-owned, I just want to satisfy my curiosity. Considering the significance of this Public Utility Corporation, Ngcp, ang tanong ko po, Ngcp, wala na po bang ibang Filipino citizens interested to own that 40% which currently belongs to the Chinese nationals?
If there was a decision by the commission denying your petition, and then you filed a motion for reconsideration, and that was also denied, the motion for clarification should be on the decision of the denial, not on the alternative mode of the requirement that is being set by Section 8 of Republic Act 9511.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should allow the focus of this inquiry, the Ngcp, to fully explain. Because once there was the decision that they are going to have IPO, Section 8 provides an alternative remedy. That's the second proviso, which I read.
Sir,
Provided that the listing in the PSA of any company which directly or indirectly owns. So can we allow the Ngcp to finish? Because if we keep on interjecting, we don't have the whole defense of the Ngcp.
Mr. Chairman,
so I'm asking that,
Mr. Chairman,
kasi so many times,
I'm questioning the resource person, and I'm satisfied already with the answer that she was manifesting. Okay na sa akin yun, Mr. Chairman, basta sumagot siya ng
Mr. Chair,
tinatanong
the
ko.
Honorable Rufus,
1 minute
this is the
suspension.
time of the Honorable Dan Fernandez. And we will now, I think, Ngcp, I understand your sentiments, Honorable Rufus, but I think, we will also have to make sure that the answers are straight to the point. No? I think ang hinihingi ni Dan, ni Kong Dan, ay yes or no, tapos magpaliwanag. Yan naman ang hinihingi niya. Para mapabilis ho tayo. The Honorable Dan, can you please proceed?
With all due respect,
Okay.
with Congressman Rufus, I'm asking direct answer. I'm asking direct answer, and then I am letting her to explain. And then
Yes.
I don't know where the good gentleman is coming from na hindi ko inaalaw na magsalita yung ating pong resource person. As a matter of fact, sabi ko, sige, explain. Di ba?
Okay, so this is still the time of the Honorable Dan Fernandez. So you have the floor, the Honorable Dan. Proceed.
Okay, so nung March 10, nagkaroon ng final decision na denied na po yung inyo pong petition, prayer for the extension. On August 11, 2021, may order that was issued by then Chairperson of ERC, Agnes de Banadera, saying that the Commission's order on March 10, 2021, ito, you listen, ha? Ang sabi ni Commissioner Agnes de Banadera, okay? The Commission's order dated March 10, 2021 should not be taken as allowing or prohibiting any mode of ownership, dispersal, allowed under the law to be undertaken by NGCP as this was not an issue in the entire proceedings. In other words, hindi po siya issue to tackle about this dispersal ownership doon sa petition that you filed on November 18, 2018. So, nung mag-lapse na yung period nung January 14, 2019, at your motion for reconsideration was denied, and you were ordered to proceed with the IPO, and then you did not proceed with the IPO, then, Mr. Chairman, I believe that there was a violation of Section 8. Now, nung May 26, 2022, eto na po yung sinasabi po ninyo that another order was issued, this time, by all the members of the commission, with one dissent, si Commissioner Maceda, declaring that NGCP has complied with the dispersal of ownership provided under Section 8 of Republic Act number 9511 based on SGP's indirect ownership of 40.20% of the outstanding capital stock of the NGCP. Now, may I know from the member of the majority who have decided, who reached this conclusion, dun sa March 2021 order, sinabi nyo, they have explicitly directed NGCP to complete its compliance with the initial public offering requirements until the successful listing thereof. Now, you have decided, dito po sa May 26, 2022, pwede po bang malaman anong naging reason ng ating pong tatlong commissioner? Wait, Mr. Chairman, I still have the floor.
No, I have an interjection because the best evidence of what was the reason of their majority decision is the document and the decision itself. We cannot be again asking them on this particular forum.
Mr. Chairman,
The best way is to find out, to have it read by the Secretary, that decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Because that is already the best evidence rule, Mr. Chairman.
all right.
Yes.
Okay, ask Commissioner, sino pa bang hindi nakakasagot? Lumbatan. So, what is your reason for this? Kasi nagdesisyon na kayo nung okay, March 10, 2021, IPO na tayo. Proceed na kayo. And then suddenly, nung May 26, 2022, sinasabi nyo na hindi na, compliant na kayo. Meron na kayong pwede na kayo sa share swap. While sinabi nyo doon sa mga investigation nyo and hearings that were conducted by the NGC, by the ERC, that share swap was already abandoned. And as a matter of fact, kasama nyo si Mr. Francisco doon at sinasabi niya, nagpo-proceed na sila sa initial process of the IPO. Now, what is the reason or what is the explanation on this matter?
Thank you, Your Honor. Chair, if I may be recognized to respond to the
Yes, go ahead.
to the question.
Ay, boss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lumbatan, right?
That is correct,
Please.
Mr.
You're
Chair.
recognized.
Thank you very much. We have specified in our 10 March 2021 order, we have specified IPO because it was NGCP who elected to pursue the first mode of compliance, which is the public listing or the IPO. So, pinanghawakan ho namin yung sinasabi nila na mag-IPO kami. And thereafter, they were asking for extension to conduct or to comply with the IPO. Ngayon, ang sinasabi ho namin, hindi. Ngayon na kagad, gawin na ninyo. Now, we have arrived at the 26 May 2022 decision because prior to that, they have filed a motion for clarification, asking the Commission, if we have elected earlier IPO, are we now prohibited again to choose the alternative, which is the public listing of a company having at least 30% control of the company? The majority decision of the Commission, composed of myself, Commissioner Fuentes and Commissioner Digal, including the former chair, Agnes de Vanadero, was that by earlier electing to pursue IPO, you did not necessarily abandon the alternative mode of compliance. And so, ang sabi ho namin, o sige, dahil nga ito ang sinasabi sa franchise law ninyo, you may utilize the alternative mode. So, in 26 May 2022.
Pero Commissioner Lumbatan, if
Opo.
I may, no, I got your point. Will you agree with me that the petition that was filed 2 months prior to the statutory deadline noong January 14, 2019, deadline na ang petition nila is for the extension of the period of listing of the shares of stock of NGCP.
Opo.
Wala silang sinabing share swap.
Wala po.
Correct. Kung wala sila sinabing share swap, yung alternative mode of the requirements of the Section 8, nag-expire yung January 14, 2019 na deadline. Di ba? Kaya nga nyo binigyan sila ng extension eh. Bigyan nyo sila ng extension twice, 6 months, para to complete the process of the IPO. But they did not. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now, yun nga ang tanong ko dito eh. The sudden as a matter of fact dito, kay Commissioner Digal, no? Doon sa urgent manifestation nila, sinabi mo that NGCP is also, kasi nga, I think there was a deception in here because ang sabi mo, Commissioner Digal, NGCP is also finalizing the engagement of legal counsels for the IPO and expect to finally onboard all external advisors for WID. Wala namang mention ng share swap eh. January 28, 2021 na to. So, ibig sabihin, hindi pinag-uusapan ng share swap. Di ba? Will you confirm that you have said this? Kino-confirm mo lang na, IPO na. Di ba? Tama, Commissioner Digal?
If that is what is in the order, Chair.
Yeah. And ganun din kay Puentes, Commissioner Puentes. Ang sinabi din ni Commissioner Puentes, for the record lang, para at least we have the basis for all of this. Ang sabi ni Commissioner Puentes, the IPO, ito, base doon sa desisyon na nandito, the IPO will be a singular opportunity both for the investing public and for NGCP. And the company seeks full and unhampered chance without pressure of constricted timelines under the pandemic to realize it. So again, there were walang mention ng share swap eh. Wala eh. No, the representation made by NGCP through this urgent motion and motion as well as the hearings conducted spoke lamang of the progress of the IPO. Yun lamang po ang pinag-uusapan. Now, kanina, dito po sa final order ng ERC, directing NGCP to complete its initial public offering within 6 months, have become final and unappealable. Tanungin ko si Commissioner Maceda, since ikaw ay kasama doon sa mga nagdesisyon, naging final na po ba yung March 10, 2021 order ng ERC directing the NGCP to proceed with the IPO?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for that question. I wasn't present actually when the Commission adopted the order of March 10, 2021. I was on leave on that day, Your Honor. But based on the rules of practice and procedure of the Commission, there can only be one motion for reconsideration. And once the Commission has ruled on such motion for reconsideration, the decision is final and executory. Unless, of course, the petitioner files for certiorari before the courts, which they did not do.
So, meaning walang timely appeal or for certiorari or something?
Wala po sa records namin yan. Instead, we got a motion for clarification po.
So, the order became immutable, in other words?
It's a final order, Your Honor, based on our rules of practice and procedure.
So, yung NGCP's subsequent request for clarification, was it not was it a, parang kasi, it's not merely an inquiry eh. Parang ang feeling ko, nung binabasa ko, parang effectively, they are suit to alter the decision eh. Because they injected the share swap, after which, the motion for reconsideration was denied. And then motion for clarification, to clarify the decision of the motion for reconsideration, then suddenly, the clarification deals with the decision making. Am I correct?
I issued a dissenting opinion, Your Honor, so my answer will be very biased. I would tend to agree with that observation. Because once we issue a final order arising from a motion for reconsideration, and such order is very specific as to the directives, we cannot change what's in that order when we clarify questions, let's say from petitioners. But in this case, Your Honor, there was an order for a very specific mode of public offering, which is through initial public offering. Naka-indicate po dun sa order kasi yun. So, given that, if there was a motion for clarification, the Commission should clarify on the basis of that directive to initiate the IPO.
Correct.
And not to say you can undertake
Alternative.
any other form, alternative form of public
And
offering.
that's the reason why I'm asking, kasi nga, that was the recourse that was done by the NGCP. The motion for clarification. The motion for clarification is to clarify the decision for the motion for reconsideration that was denied. But there was what do you call that? Parang amendment of the decision by inserting if they can have an alternative mode of the requirements of the section 8. But anyway, ano ba ang difference, Madam ERC? What's the difference between the share swap? Para at least maintindihan po ng ating mga kababayan. What is the difference between the share swap, transactions, and on the other hand, the IPO? Kasi yan ang requirement ng Section 8 yung IPO eh. But there was a provision there also, a word there, na sinasabi, provided. Di ba? Yung provided na yan, we need to explain and to clarify. Di ba? So, ang tanong, ma'am, anong difference ng share swap and the IPO that is being mandated? Kung titignan mo ang kabuuan ng Section 8, ang body ng provision is IPO. IPO. Di ba? So, can you kindly explain to us the share swap and the IPO?
ERC, who would like to respond to the question of the Honorable Dan?
Thank you, Your
The
Honor.
Honorable Maceda.
Yes. My understanding of a initial public offering is such that you widely disseminate such information for public offering to give chance to the public, that's why it's called initial public offering, a chance to own a part of the stakes in that company. So there's wide dissemination. A share swap agreement is more of a transaction between private entities. So the question is, does that satisfy the public offering requirement in the Section 8 of RA 9511? I guess it's the, to a certain extent, the Securities and Exchange Commission, perhaps that can also help qualify that. But mainly, if you talk about what is the directive in the order, it's definitely initial public offering. That's the order of March 10, 2021. No mention of the share swap, as of course, also my fellow commissioners also confirmed earlier on. So when this came in under the motion for clarification, for me, as the dissenting commissioner, the number one question was, is that in compliance with the final order of the Commission of March 10, 2021? And for me, it is not in compliance with the final order of the Commission of March 10, 2021.
Okay.
Honorable Dan
Okay,
Fernandez.
malapit na po to, Mr. Chairman, but I still have a lot of issues, pero mamaya na lang po after ng mga members who would like to ask as well. So, doon po sa Section 8, maliwanag to sa mga commissioners po, no, na who have decided on this matter. Kasi medyo may, talaga medyo, can we correct the error that was done? Because, Chairman Mona Lisa, the ERC decided on the franchise tax, the 3% franchise tax under Resolution number 7 of 2011 to pass through it to the consumer. But on your decision on 2023, Resolution number 10, sinasabi doon na hindi na pass through sa consumer. Di ba? Now, you reverse the decision of the ERC. Question, can we reverse that May 2022 decision of the ERC regarding that? Kasi kung titignan mo yung decision ng May 22, May 16, 2022, masyadong baliktad doon sa desisyon ng ERC regarding sa pag-proceed sa IPO. Tanong, ma'am, can you do the same?
We can study the matter, Mr. Chair. The matter of the franchise tax is a bit different because it's a continuing collection for continuing obligation to or continuing authority that was given to NGCP to collect. So what we did was to suspend that authority by issuing another resolution. But this one is a case that was decided already and made final by the commission. But we can study it, Mr. Chair, because I myself, I have questions. Also.
Yes, ito, madam, I will cite you on a Supreme Court decision regarding the proviso, the word proviso. The Office of Proviso, ang ibig sabihin ng provided na sinasabi nila dito, no? Kasi nga, ang sinasabi sa Section 8, yung public offering, kumbaga, ito yung pinakabuod nung provision na to, yung public offering, mag-initial public offering kayo. Di ba? Para may partisipasyon ng taong bayan. Ang problema, hindi Sila-sila rin din may-ari Now, ang sinabi dito, provided, ito ang decision ng Supreme Court, the Office of Proviso is to limit the application of the law. It is contrary to the nature of a proviso to enlarge the operation of the law. It should not be construed so as to repeal or destroy the main provisions of the status. A proviso which is directly repugnant to the purview of or body of an act is inoperative and void. So meaning, Chairman, void. Di ba?
We will study it, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat. The reason, Mr. Chairman, that I'm pointing this out, the intent of the public offering requirement in franchise law is to ensure public dispersal of shares in accordance with the Constitution. How can we allow a share swap? Paano natin i-allow yung agreement na yan to be a form of compliance with Section 8 of Republic Act 9511 when in reality, wala naman pong public dispersal of shares that happened. What will prevent other public utilities to do the same? And sabihin ng Maynilad, sabihin ng Meralco, sabihin ng iba pang public utilities, ay, magsi-share swap na rin kami. Share swap na lang para kami rin na may-ari. Di ba? And that's my point, Mr. Chairman. We cannot allow this. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, the Honorable Dan Fernandez. The Chair, is SEC here? SEC. Attorney Tria.
Yes, Your Honor. President.
Question. What is the treatment on a share swap? And how does this affect the corporate structure of a corporation?
Essentially, a share swap, it's not a public transaction. It's a private transaction wherein it's an agreement between two parties. Example, I'm a shareholder, and then I will have an agreement with another shareholder. We can swap our shares. So essentially, the effect would be there would be a change in ownership of the shares. It's not relating to the issue at hand, it's not a public offering since in a share swap there is already parties that are decided who will own the shares.
So therefore, the law says IPO. Can a share swap take the place of an IPO?
We do not have an official position on that issue,
But-
Mr. Chair, but
Please. This-
it's not a public offering. A share swap is a private transaction, Mr.
So
Chair.
you're of the opinion that it is two different animals altogether?
Yes, Mr.
And
Chair.
cannot
And if
be the same, coming from the same mother?
yes, Mr. Chair. Although the commission does not have an
No,
official
that-
position, but
Yes.
if you desire, we
You're a
can
lawyer.
submit
I
a position paper, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but as a lawyer, you feel that it's not the same. You're
Yes.
clear that it's not the same.
As a lawyer,
Because
Mr.
you
Chair.
said it's not a public offering, and the law calls for a public offering.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you
Chair.
very much, Attorney Tia. The Chair now recognizes the next speaker, the Honorable Jinky Luistro. Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wish to commend the very passionate interpellation conducted by the Honorable Fernandez. However, Mr. Chair, I lament that the Filipino people who are viewing us right now may not be understanding the significance of this inquiry. So, while I do submit that this is a very technical matter, I hope everybody will exert the necessary effort to laymanize in the same way that Yusek Garin did during her presentation. So before I proceed to my interpellation, Mr. Chair, I wish to request Yusek Garin to please enlighten the public. Ano po ba ang kahalagahan ng National Grid Corporation of the Philippines sa pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente dito sa ating bansa? Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yusek Garin.
As a transmission by itself, kasi yun yung nagko-connect, di ba? So kada parte ng electricity natin, may charges yan. Generation, transmission, and then distribution. So, ang generation, halos 50% yan. Transmission is a small amount. I don't know if it's 10%, ma'am. I'm not sure. I think even less. But ang importance is not just the charges. The charges can still be lower kung ayusin siguro yung mga taxes or yung pag-pass on nila ng yung costing nila, no? But the more important impact of a delayed project is, halimbawa magpagawa ka ng, Mr. Chair, pagawa ka ng bahay. If you do it in 2010, it's cheaper rather than doing it in 2020. May inflation, umaakyat din yung presyo. And that's what's the impact is to our households. Dahil mas mahal ang presyo ng proyekto, depende kung how ERC would treat that for their cost recovery. Pero nagiging mahal yung presyo, nagiging mahal din yung charges. And at the same time, other than the cost, yung capex niya, yung cost ng pag-build mo ng transmission, is yung ano yung epekto niya sa other players. You have two sides eh. May generation, tapos kung sino nagkukonsumo. So sa nagkukonsumo, I think IMAP and Transco can explain that better kasi sila yung nagbabantay ng presyo eh, and they monitor the market. But on the generation side, halimbawa, there are projects na tapos na siya. Ang epekto, and it cannot sell the electricity because it's not connected to the grid. Some generation companies actually build their own transmission na lang. So it's costing also our generation rates. So as a transmission by itself, their own charges, maybe the impact is not as big as we expect, no? Pero ang epekto ng instability of the grid has an effect on the distribution, on the demand side and the supply side, ma'am.
In other words, Yusek Garin, is it correct to say, for the viewing Filipino people, pag mataas ang cost ng transmission, mataas din ang presyo ng kuryente. And that is the reason why we need to regulate the operation of the NGCP, which is responsible for the national grid. Tama po ba, Yusek Garin?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair. If it is in fact, I would go further. If the project is delayed, then umaakyat din yung presyo. So that's the effect to our people, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. To proceed, Mr. Chair, there are two
Mr. Chair,
important...
just a point of information, with the indulgence of our Congressman Luistro. Point of information lang, just one quick lang. Para kasi we're talking about the layman's po, no? Maraming nanonood sa ating mga Pilipino. Kasi mukhang medyo yung sabi na tumataas ang presyo ng kuryente. Transmission is only 10%. Ang generation na malaki, almost 50%. So when we say that, na tumataas ang presyo because of delay of transmission, mali naman yun. So, nanonood, kasi mahirap, baka mga tao aasa. So, ang totoo niyan, generation ng 50% and transmission only 10%. Kahit tumaas sila, konti pa rin, it's minimal. No? So, generation, I just want to put it in context,
Mr. Chairman, that is a misconception. Huwag natin lituin
Thank you
na
very
natin.
much,
Mr. Chairman,
Honorable Presley De Jesus.
if I may allow.
The floor is still with the Honorable Luistro.
May I be
So
allowed to,
I don't think we're not here to negate each other. But these are questions and these are answers given by resource persons. Let's take it as it is and let us discuss that in a
Apology, Mr.
committee
Chair.
level, okay?
Apologies.
But we're not here to, so we're not supposed to be arguing with each other. So it's clear that the answer is transmission definitely has an effect in the increase in the cost, regardless of the percentage. The argument is, meron bang increase pag ang transmission? The answer is yes. The Honorable Jinky, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To proceed, there are two important constitutional provisions which must be raised pertaining to public utilities. That includes the NGCP. One is the ownership, that the same must be 60% Filipino-owned and 40% may be allowed to be foreign-owned. May I ask the NGCP, did you comply with this constitutional provision?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And the second important constitutional provision, Mr. Chair, is that the executive and managerial officers should be Filipino citizens. NGCP, did you comply with this constitutional provision? Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Having said that, Mr. Chair, I wish to raise the information I gathered from the reports and various documents. First, based on the 2024 GIS of the NGCP, the chairman of the same is a certain Guang Chao, a Chinese national. Does the NGCP confirm this?
Please reply.
Your Honor, we'll have to refer to our GIS for that.
Yes, where's the GIS? You have a copy.
The name Zhu Guangchao, described as Chinese, is designated as chairman in the 2024 General Information Sheet of the NGCP. Having said so, because the same is indicated in your document, do you maintain your position that the executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens?
Please reply, NGCP.
Your Honor, based on our general information sheet,
Please speak closer to the microphone. Speak louder.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, but I believe that the question is answerable by a yes or no only.
Yes or no? Attorney San Diego, ang pagbabasihan lang po GIS, ha? Yes or no?
the chairman of our board is Mr. Guancho.
Okay, Chinese. Okay. Yes, yes. The answer is
Are you saying that you complied with the constitutional provision that the executive and managing officers should be Filipino citizens only, considering that your chairman is a Chinese citizen?
Yes, Your Honor, our executive and managers are all Filipino.
How do you consider a chairman of NGCP? Is it not a managerial or executive position?
Your Honor, Mr. Swagwanko is a chairman of the board of the directors, but our executive officials and officers are all Filipino.
We take note of your answer, but this representation sadly believes otherwise. For this alone, it is my humble submission that the NGCP violated this constitutional provision. Second, Mr. Chair, there are other executives which were disclosed in the records of the NGCP. Leo Zhao Yang, described as Assistant Chief Technical Officer. Leo Sin Ju Wan, described as Chairman of Board Audit Committee. These two officers are responsible for hiring employees and signing contracts with them. Having said so, Mr. Chair, may we hear from the NGCP, are you still maintaining your position that executive and managerial officers are Filipino citizens? Liu Zhaoyang and Liu Xinju are both described as Chinese citizens.
Your Honor, we maintain that all our executives and officers are all Filipino. But Your Honor, if I may, I have been looking at our GIS, but the mentioned names were not here in the 2022 GIS of NGCP.
in the what?
GIS of NGCP.
Mr. Chair,
What-
we will be flashing some documents on the later part of the interpellation showing these names, including the others who participated in the operation, most especially the technical aspect of the NGCP. Another significant name that I came across with is Wen Bo, Chief Technical Officer. And he is described as well as a Chinese citizen, Mr. Chair. And with that, I wish to manifest, without asking anymore the NGCP, that the operation is participated not only by Filipino citizens. Proceeding, Mr. Chair, I want to know more about this NGCP, so I wish to ask the NGCP, sino-sino po ba ang mga miyembro at ibang officers ng NGCP based on your GIS? May we request the Secretariat to please flash the 2024 GIS. NGCP, please. Of course, the document confirms Zhu Guangchao as the chairman of NGCP. And in addition to this Chinese national, we have also number 8, Yao Yusheng, Wang Lijin, Liu Xinhua. Although their positions are not indicated in this GIS. Proceeding to our GIS on stock holdings, Mr. Chair. Kindly flash the next slide. The GIS on stock ownership. There. There is one corporation here, Monte Oro Grid, which owns 27.23% of its shareholdings. Another corporation, Kalaka High Power Corporation, which is 27.23%. Third corporation is State Grid International Development Limited. That is 36.30%. Plus the 4 Chinese individuals who owns 1% each of its stock holdings. From the face of this general information sheet, Mr. Chair, it appears indeed that the Chinese ownership is 40%. However, with all due respect to our esteemed colleagues, I wish to agree to the honorable members who insisted on requesting for the GIS of the corporations who own shareholdings as well, in order to find out the extent of Filipino ownership, as it might affect as well the requisite ownership as imposed by the Philippine Constitution, and that is, to be specific, 60% Filipino-owned and 40% foreign-owned as may be allowed. And therefore, let this representation reiterate the earlier motion to Sestecum for the submission of the GIS of Monte Oro, Kalaka High Power, and if possible, the State Grid International Development. That is, if our intention indeed is to find out if there is full compliance with the requirement of the Philippine Constitution. Another corporation which GIS we want to request, as earlier requested, is the Synergy Grid Development Philippines, which owns 9.24% of the stock holdings of NGCP, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I want to go back to the 60-40 ownership. While I do acknowledge that the remaining 40% of the stock holdings may be foreign-owned, I just want to satisfy my curiosity. Considering the significance of this public utility corporation, NGCP, ang tanong ko po, NGCP, wala na po bang ibang Filipino citizens interested to own that 40% which currently belongs to the Chinese nationals?